All right, hey, so got a moment. I mean, Ben Bryson from WVTM, got a few minutes to talk to him here. I mean, he's been uploading some great spots, 13 total all of a sudden, and but there's a few of them that have just been absolutely spectacular. Ben, before we get started, if you don't mind just telling us a little bit about you yourself and what you've been doing for the station and now pumping out tons of great stuff.
Well, I've been at WVTM for 17 years now, and I've kind of held several jobs there. The longest one I had was a news photographer for about 10 years, and then transitioned into the commercial production in our creative services department. And I've been doing that for about 5 years now.
Oh wow, so you have a lot of news experience then.
Yeah, yeah.
How did you make that jump, and what was that? You normally don't hear that jump from news over to
Yeah, I've always been a creative person. I was a musician for many years, and I love art and design and creativity. And so I just submitted my most creative news work for my reel, and the person in charge at the time hired me. So.
Oh, great. Yeah, because that's what I was about to ask. Like, did you have the opportunity while you were in news to work on any commercials at all?
No commercials, but I've worked on a lot of franchises in news. So, yeah.
Well, that's pretty good. Well, you certainly. So, how long you been in commercial production now?
About 5 years.
About 5 years. Well, you're certainly become a superstar already because you've really produced a lot of great stuff. And your CSD now is Nate Todd, right? Yes.
Yeah.
And
I worked with Jason Holloway before as well.
Yeah, yeah. And so we've kind of we want to talk about two or three great spots that you've done, and Dave, do you want to go ahead and play the first spot from Billy Ray Taylor, Auto Sales, and then we'll kind of go over it, and because it's a really unique spot, I really love it. So go ahead and play it.
88. 75.
What do these people have in common?
46.
They all have a number.
63.
A number of miles they were willing to go to get the right vehicle for them at the best price.
108.
So what's your number? Make the drive to Coleman to Billy Ray Taylor Auto Sales and pick from over 400 superb trucks and SUVs. We got the trucks.
I thought it was just spectacular. Dave's probably going to jump in to ask a couple of questions right after that. Also, but the first thing that hit me was that an outdoor chroma key that you had?
No, I have a picture of my setup from that day, but no, that was shot on site, and it was during COVID. So normally I would have moved around a lot, and had different backgrounds for all those people. But because of not really it was just me and not really wanting to move around the setup, I just stayed in one location and just zoomed in and made it work.
I mean, because when I first saw it, I was like, how did you? It's just almost the background looks surreal to me. Like, so I was trying to figure it out. I can't believe that.
I mean, I can share my screen and show you this picture so you kind of get an idea if you guys want me to.
Go for it.
Let's see. So this was the setup that day, and as you can see, I have a diffusion panel in the background, and then I was bouncing the sun, which was kind of off to their left behind them, back to their face. And it just, some days it just works out good like that,
I mean, because it looked absolutely spectacular.
You must have used a really low aperture. I mean, that's what got us thinking that maybe it was a green screen, because the obviously your subject's in focus and the background's pretty much in focus as well.
Yeah, I think I was using medium aperture, and I wasn't zooming in very, on the zoomed in shot, you can actually see the fall off a little more. But yeah, it just, the lighting just turned out really good. That diffusion in the background, knocking the sun off of their shoulders a little bit, or just cutting it down a little bit, really helps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really created a great separation. Tell me a little bit about your music choice and the voiceover. Is that typically a voice work done for that dealer, or?
I use a website called Voice Talent Now, and they have several different people on there. It's $50, I think, for a 30-second spot, and we roll it into the cost of production. And they have good people. They have kept the same people around for a while, and so for them, yes, I've used the same guy several times. And for other clients, I've used the same person as well if they're, if it fits the spot.
Wow, yeah, that was cool. And your messaging, of being so singular focused on we got trucks, and what a unique concept of. Because when I first saw the football, I was like, all right, where is it going? Like I was associating with players' numbers. I didn't know that's, so that was really cool.
Well, that's a concept we've kind of had, me and the digital sales manager have kind of had in our back pocket, because people are so football crazy here, and it's really hard to tie football marketing into advertising without getting into legal trouble, especially team colors and logos and all that sort of thing. So we've just been holding on to this and waiting for the right person to give it to. And this client loved it. They're big football fans. They're in Coleman, which is about 45 minutes away from Birmingham, where the station is, and they were all really into it. And their business really caters to these big, like 4x4, like high-end sort of trucks, used high-end trucks, and well-maintained high-end trucks. And they kind of get people from across the country going there just to buy trucks. So the concept of writing the mileage on the ball and everything, it just worked out. It was cool.
Yeah, I think that, anybody that's watching this interview, I mean, it's definitely a concept that could be used, and I hope you don't mind that it'll probably get stolen because it's really good.
Well, I mean, it helps if you have a name like Billy Ray Taylor, and who is like got to be a Tide running back or something. I don't know. Geez, oh man.
Yeah, those guys out there are salt of the earth types, that's for sure. It was fun working with them.
So we're gonna go from big trucks to a surgical group. Go play the next slide.
At Medical Arts Surgical Group, we take pride in being the area's most experienced surgical team. With the highest level of training from prestigious universities across the nation, we are dedicated to excellence. Dr. Stephen Tart, Dr. William Billups III, Dr. Hans Tulip, Dr. Drew Dennison, Dr. Matt Coker. When only the best will do, trust the skilled surgeons who are close to home.
Again, another great spot with great shooting and great lighting. Any sort of special setup there that you did for that one?
No, actually, that's Video Blocks footage, and that's a whole story in itself. That client, we work with them quite a bit throughout the year. They're actually in Meridian, Mississippi, which is about 2 hours from us. So we've been working with them for a couple of years. I've gone to Meridian twice, I think, now, and shot there. They've also, I forget the name of the organization, but they're at KCCI. it's like a documentary unit that goes around and shoots stuff.
The docu-style people, or HTB Digital Studios.
That's it. Yeah, and so they've gone there and they've shot some long format pieces. So I actually contacted them and got the footage for that.
Got it. Yeah.
And it's fantastic. And I used that originally, but they didn't like it, and because it wasn't the exact surgeons that we had listed in the spot. So that client is a notorious, like, we want a revision, and like I think I did 5 on that spot, maybe even 6. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, it's just they're a tough client, and they should be. They're a hospital, you know.
And is
Well,
that they decided to list in a row their surgeons like that?
Yeah, I tried to talk them out of it. I really wanted them to go more of a, you know, you show those surgeons, maybe you list their experience underneath their names, that sort of thing. But you talk about something else in the voiceover, like, you know, combine everybody's years of service together, you know, maybe tell a success story and numbers, you know, of your surgical team, something else besides listing their names. And they have a lot of hands in the cookie jar there. Like, it's their marketing person and the head of the hospital. I mean, it's like 5 or 6 people, and they all have an idea of what they want. And ultimately, I just had to, you know, go with what they wanted. So.
Yeah, one thing, Ben, that I mentioned to Brian, and again, it would have never worked because, again, having done a number of projects with doctors, so I know what you're talking about, massive egos, and got to get the names in there. But what I mentioned to Brian was that would have been an unbelievable 15-second spot, because it was about the 12-second mark before it hit the skids and went to the list, and then you had some great end screen graphics. He could have made a beautiful 15 out of it. And just scrap the dots. Yeah, yeah.
And I even thought, you know, hey, what if we don't say their names, but we just ride the music, you know, for a second or something, you know? But they weren't. And I even, when I first submitted it to them, I gave them that version as like, here's the alternate version of it. And they still weren't, they weren't having it, so.
This is very cool. All right, so we got one more. I know we scheduled 2, but Dave insisted that we put this 3rd spot in there. Millie Ray and Sons. So go ahead and play it.
Millie Ray and Sons started as a mother's passion for baking in 1979. First out of Millie Ray's Homewood, Alabama kitchen, now out of kitchens all around the South. To this day, Millie Ray's scratch recipes haven't changed a bit, but her family has. Now Millie's sons carry on her passion for family and sharing. That's why all Millie Ray and Sons products are made to share. Find Millie Ray and Sons in your local grocery store to share with your loved ones.
So that's just such an awesome spot. I was telling Brian, the first comment I have right off the bat is, you know, I see a cast of thousands and I'm immediately like, oh man, what a logistical nightmare. Even if they're all a family, getting them all together, was that a huge hassle?
Luckily for me, I had nothing to do with that part.
Okay.
And I literally got the call for that shoot and the script and everything like 2 days before I completed that spot.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they were ready to go. They just had everybody together.
They all live close by each other, and they brought everybody, and they actually fried a turkey. The grandmother fried a turkey that day before I showed up. And I was like, don't set the table. I want to get shots if you set the table. So I literally just set up my little track and I started shooting as they were doing it. And I was like, all right, pause. Now everybody gather around for the prayer. And I shot that. And, you know, I just kind of, I was the maestro, and it was really off the cuff. It just turned out really good. You know, I thought the desaturated look looked good with the really white, clean graphics, and I don't know, it just turned out good.
Yeah.
Super simple and clean. Sometimes it's the best, you know.
I mean, it's got, you put the note you put on the upload was it was important for them to appear to be a local, which they are, a local company, a local bakery, instead of a national brand. And yet here you go making a national looking spot. So,
Well, they are in a lot of grocery stores, and I think they're pretty popular in the Southeast. I wasn't exactly sure, but they said they got a boost from the spot, so that's good to hear. But they wanted to kind of show the family history and all of that, and tying them to Birmingham. And I did write like 3 different versions of the script, and some were more, local centric to really drive the point home. But they like that one the best. And so they really wanted to make it a point that anybody that can't get Millie Ray's, ask your grocer, to stock our products, because it's really easy,
Mhm.
Because right now they're at a lot of high-end places and not at like, the Piggly Wiggly, I guess.
Well, really great stuff, man, and thanks for taking some time with us today. And I'm sure if anybody has any questions, you don't mind them reaching out to you and posting any questions or answers in this group. And I wouldn't be surprised if your football concept was stolen a few times. It's a really good concept.
Let me ask you one question, Ben. And I think this is a question that relates to all 3 of the spots. First of all, it shows a breadth. It shows a breadth of experience that we hope that all commercial producers have. That they're not just all, really good at car spots or really good at this or that or the other. You show a real ability to, spread yourself out and tackle a variety of clients. But the question I was going to ask you specifically relates to your graphic sense. On all 3 of those spots, you used some really interesting, very clean, professional graphics. And you mentioned before when you were telling Brian about your background and stuff, you said you had some design background. So tell me a little bit about your graphic sense, and if you bring some of that to each project that you work on and how you do it.
It's honestly a hobby that I've always had. I've always been into art and design, and I would suggest to anybody who does this job to really dig into graphic design. I think it's an important skill set, typography, graphic design. And once you're in it, I feel like you fall in love with it because it's so nuanced and so interesting, it adds so much to a spot.
Clearly, yeah.
Well, great stuff, man. Thanks again for spending some time. I can't wait to see what people's comments are on your stuff, because it's just absolutely spectacular. So thank you so much, and we'll connect soon.
Cool. Thanks, guys.